So we're going to be talking about Elementor sections now because I actually believe this is probably one of the most important things that you should know about, as it will actually probably save you a ton of time if you just understand this absolute fundamentals. And I originally spoke in one of my earlier videos about design structure and how I recommend you to build your site, and if you've not watched that video, I do go into more depth about it, but just as a quick reminder, so we've got the sidebar, which is the offer that we're going to include in there. We've got the core area in this little box, which is going to show a snapshot of all the information of all the other pages on your site. You've got your logo and you've got your navigation on the right here, okay? And that's really as simple as how your website should be. It's going to be really easy to structure. It's going to be very similar to a lot of major players like Google, for example. This is kind of Google's layout anyway, minus the logo and navigation here, but on the actual search page. So there's absolutely loads you can do, but you're not really going to understand how to create that layout if you don't understand sections. And what you'll see in this as well is that, what have you noticed? I've actually boxed everything off. And that's the way you want to think about building a website. Now, usually professionals, you will create something called a wireframe, which it's a visual layout and design style of everything before they start building, because it just helps them streamline everything. And once the planning's done, then it makes everything faster. But being realistic, these videos are designed for business owners who don't really have the time to go through extensive planning and measuring and all of that sort of stuff. And you kind of just want something up and going, which is actually going to be working and functional and look semi-decent. So this is how we're going to achieve that. So let's talk about sections. So everything is done in a section and a row. Okay, so this is a section. Okay, and you can see it gives you done templates, but we're just going to start off with 100% width. Okay, so this is a section, this blue thing, and then this here, this grey, I'm slightly colorblind, just in case I think it's grey, is called a row or a column. Okay, add new column. Okay, and now rows and columns. Okay, so the way you want to do this, so probably the best way I'm going to show you how to do this is by, in fact, just building this. Okay, so what have we got here? So in order to achieve this, we've actually got two columns here, okay, which means we need, so let me just delete this. So this means that we need this, and then we need this. Okay, so you can see we've got two columns there. Now, having another look, you can see that the navigation column is actually a lot wider than the logo. So all we need to do is hover over the right-hand side column, and you can see we can just now drag it just like that. And then we've got the longer width column here for our navigation and the shorter one for our logo. Now, if you want exact measurements, that's okay, because what we're going to do, we're going to click on Edit Column, just on the little icon like that, and you can see column width just like that. So if you wanted to make this exactly 25.2%, there you go, and this will push it, so this is also this changes dimension as well. If you want to make this 25%, well, I'll just change it to 25. That's been changed, and you can see this is now no longer whatever it was, but it's now at 75%. Okay, so let me go ahead and add an image in for you. So I'm just going to add this image. Boom. Let's pretend that's your logo now. Okay, so now that your logo is in there, we need the navigation. Now, unless you're going to start installing third-party menu plugins and stuff like that, ideally, the only other way you're going to be able to add a menu in is by either, I think it's, where are you? Is here. If you've got the Pro version, then you can do lots of fancy stuff, but we don't. I'm going to cover the Pro version soon, but right here you've got the navigation menu, which is going to go in like this. 1 second. So once the navigation's in, what do you want to do? Well, at the moment you're not going to be able to see anything, because we actually don't have any menus created yet. So we're going to have to go out of here soon and start putting in the navigation. Now, getting things aligned and all sorts of things, you can do really cool things, but if you click on this here, on the column icon, and where it says vertical align, you can change it to middle, space around evenly, bottom, and top. Okay, so it's completely up to you how you want to align these sort of things, and once you've got a logo in place, it's going to look a lot better and everything will make sense for you. So now that we've added that in, let's go ahead and see what else we need to add. Well, we said we're going to have 2 columns here as well. So how can we do that? Well, basically it's the exact same. So what do? We now click on this here and add 2 columns. Okay, and now we've got the 2 columns in, and again we want the right column to be the sidebar, just like that, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so that is basically the structure of the whole website, but let's get a little bit more practical with it. So let's say we want to add a heading to it, so let's go ahead and add the heading. Okay, so now we've got the heading. So remember, the heading is completely up to you, and I don't really want you to be dependent on step by step what information I'm putting in there, because it's really up to you to jump in and to start throwing all of this together. But we've got our header. Okay, next we want a little bit of an introduction about us, so we can throw the text editor in there, and we would just add our text. Okay, now that we've got that text in, what else do we want to do? Well, we said before that we wanted a snapshot of all our other services. So here's how that would look. So for example, we want to direct people to the About Us page. So we'll drag the title in, and we'll go ahead and title this About Us. Okay, and then we can either duplicate the text or go into the widget area and add the text in, completely up to you. I'm going to duplicate it because it's just faster. And now we've got all of that. Okay, so next, I actually don't like the fact that the About Us heading is as big as the core heading, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this, Style, Typography, and change the size. Now again, SEO is becoming more and more prominent as the videos go on, but again, I just want you to get in your website, and I just want you to get slightly up and running to the point where, you know what, once you get to the SEO section, you can just jump in and quickly make the changes. Okay, don't worry about SEO. You know, if you have the intention to follow all my videos and all my training all the way to the point where you actually get to the SEO side of things, then you're going to be so much better off than any other way of doing things. Okay, so now you've got the About Us and you've got this and that. Now, what else do we want? Well, we also said that we wanted it's going to be a snapshot, so we want the other pages. So we've got the About Us page. Let's go ahead and duplicate that title, move it down just by dragging it, and then duplicate the text, moving it down and dragging it. And again, we've got the services, so let's duplicate that heading again and duplicate this again. Okay, and then we're going to click on this because we're going to click on this and we're going to call it, this is going to be services. Okay, and then this is going to be contact us. Okay, and do you see how already there's actually something going on? Well, you know, it can become a lot easier once we start adding color in. So let's just have a look at how we can add some color in. Well, I don't really like this color, and little design tip, focus on 2 core colors. Okay, and usually you want colors that complement each other. So if you're going to use black, then you want orange to be your other color. Okay, because that's a opposite color which is actually complementary. Opposite colors complement each other, and yeah. So I'm going to just use do you know what, let's just go for black. Okay, so I want the titles to be in black. So what can I do? I can head over, click on the heading, click the style tab, click text color, and change it to black. Great. Now I actually don't like black as a hardcore color, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just change the shade of black to a little bit lighter, and then I'm going to add it to the picked colors so I can always quickly get that color again. Okay, and what can I do? I can either click onto the next heading because I want to apply the same because I want consistency, or what I can do is right click on this, copy, and then click on services and paste style, and I can do the same on this. Okay, now what else? Well, I actually don't like the text this color, so I'm going to make it completely black for this text because I want it to be easy to read, and maybe I might even change the typography to Arial because again I just want it simple. So there we go, and I'm going to do copy and paste style and paste style, and now you can see that it's really taking shape. And you know what, let's do the same here. Okay, and let me just change this text because I am slightly pedantic, and you can see how easy it is to get caught up in such minor details like I've just done, but in reality this is how we want. And let's go ahead and make this heading color orange if I am not colorblind enough. So let's go ahead, I think that's orange. I'm just gonna add it to the color picker, and there we go. So we've now got this. Okay, what else do we want to be doing? So actually it's not good enough just to have the snapshot, because we want to link them to wherever it is we're going. Okay, where do we want them to go? Well, obviously if this is a snapshot of the About Us, of the service, of the Contact Us page, they're the pages that we are going to want to start connecting them to. So let's go here, and again, you've only got the button option for the free version, but if you had the pro version, you've got something called icon list. I love using the icon list, but we're just going to go with the button. So let's go ahead, drag that button in, and what do we want it to say? So where it says text, we want it to say visit About Us page. Okay, and remember, you can do whatever you want. Okay, it's completely up to you, and you can decide on how big, extra small you want it. I'm going to go with extra small because I don't want to be invasive or anything like that. And yeah, and then right here you'll put the link. So you should now go to the About Us page and put the URL, or if you've already created the page, you can simply do /about-us. Okay, and now if you hover over it, boom. Now let's change the color as well. So let's go to style, background color, and change it to the orange. Boom. And a little tip, if you want your buttons to be slightly more decorative, a little trick that a lot of people do that don't realize is if you go to border type, solid, and where it says width, just deconnect them so it all says 0, and then make it 2 pixels there. Go to color, get the color that you've just picked and make it darker, and then can you see that nice little effect it makes, just like that? And now all we need to do is duplicate and put this there and put this there as well. Okay, so now you've got each one, and if you wanted to add an image, you can just do that. Let's just add that in. You can add an image underneath each one. It's really up to you how decorative you want to make it. Now, if you wanted to place 2 buttons there, that's actually really simple as well. So now this is moving on to step 2 of sections, and I'm going to call it inner sections. Oh, what do you know? It actually says inner sections. And the way inner sections work is you can place extra sections inside the section. So for example, we've got the 2 core sections here. And now if we want to put more sections here, you've now got more sections. And let's go ahead and move this button there. And let's just duplicate, and you can add it there. But you can add any elements in this, any whatsoever. And if you wanted to drag just like that, you can. And now let's move on to spacing. Okay, so how does spacing work? So you can see that if you hover over the column, you can see that there's actually a space in between here. Okay, this is called padding. Now you've got 2 things called padding and margins. So let's go ahead and click on this column and go to advanced, and you can see margin and padding. So what's going to happen if I make padding 0? Well, it goes like that. Okay, so by default, usually I actually have a padding of 30 pixels, just like that. Okay, and it just creates nice spacing, personally, that's just my opinion. You do whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. Your main objective is just to get the ball rolling. Now, what I don't like is this spacing here in this column. So all I need to do is click Edit Column, Advanced, and remove that. And the same for this one as well. But don't forget, you can actually right-click on the column, like copy, and then paste the style just like that. Okay, and you can change the column and all sorts of things. Okay, now let's go ahead and go back to this column, because you can see that there's actually tons of spacing in between each one, and I'm not overly keen on it. So if we click on the column, go to Layout, you can see something called widget space, and this is the amount of space in between widgets. Now, if you watch my previous video or one after this, you'll know that a widget is every single little thing on the page. It's all of this stuff here. So go ahead, click on Edit Column, and where it says widget space, change that to 10. And you see that actually already instantly looks better. Okay, so what do you want to do? Now, you can see that between here and there, it doesn't look great. So what do you want to do? Well, do you remember what we said about margin? And remember, this is applied to everything. It's not specific to this. You can click on this widget, go to Advanced, click 0, and where it says top for the widget, just click 20 pixels. And now that's been changed. And guess what? You can right click, copy, and paste the style like so. Okay. And all you need to do, if you want to apply the exact same thing, you can right click, duplicate, throw this there, and you can delete. Okay. And of course you can duplicate and delete. Okay, and you might be thinking, oh, that's cool, but what if I want to add another column? Well, just right click on the column, add new column, and there you go. Okay, duplicate the button or whatever you want to put in there, just like that. Cool. Now remember, copy the column and paste it just like so. There you go. And then you can change the width of each column. Or there's actually something else you can do as well, which is really cool, which is if you click on the section like this, where it says content width, you can change the width of the column. Now, because I've changed all the, let me go ahead and click on this and then go over to settings. Is it settings? I can't remember. Give me a second. So structure, sorry. So layout. So click on the column, layout, and then structure. And you can make it all the same exact width, just like that, like this, like that. Okay. And once you've done that, you can now click on section again, go to layout, and you can make everything small or big or however you want to make it. That's completely up to you. So that's actually really cool. Now we've done that, but what else do we want to do? So I'm going to go ahead and create a little border over this area here, because we've spoken about the main content area, but now I want to talk to you about the sidebar, which, if you remember, is going to include your offer or whatever you want for the offer. Okay, so let's just divide it a little bit, because it can still be professional and minimalistic. We just need to know how to divide. So let's go ahead and click the edit column for the sidebar, and where it says style, you can go to border and go to border type, and you can press solid. Okay, now and then go to color and change it to black or whatever color you want. It's up to you. Now, as it is, you won't see anything because we've actually got nothing in there. So what we want to do, let's just go ahead and throw anything in there. I'm going to throw an image in there. Okay, and now all of a sudden you can see you've got that divider. It's completely up to you if you want the full box divider or the border, what we call it. But let's go ahead and click on the column. And now what you can also do is go back to style, border, and where it says width, just go ahead and tick that link icon, so that takes away everything. And you want the border to show on the left of the box, so that's dividing those two. So just go ahead and change that to 2. And then where it says color, you can actually change the transparency of a color with this little thing here. So go ahead and do that. And now you've got yourself the box. So you can see it's all there. And remember how I said before that I always like to put a 30 pixel padding? Well, again, click on column, padding, and then 30. Okay. Now, one really important thing is that you want to be updating the website. So when I say updating, it's basically saving your progress. The worst thing is something bad happens and you've lost all the progress. So go ahead and click update. Now, once you've done that, you've got two options. You can click on preview changes, or which is found this little icon here, or you can go to the top here and then go to view page. And now what can you see? You can see we've got our main content there, a sidebar there, our logo here, and once we have navigation on navigation there. But we're actually going to be removing this section because in next video I'm going to be talking about headers and footers. But yeah, so now that that's there and that's been done like that, let's just, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to remove this like so. And I'm going to add a I didn't realize forms are actually part of the pro version. So you're going to have to get a third-party plugin, something like Contact 7 Form or something those lines. Again, I am going to be covering just the pro version. I'm not going to be going into detail with external plugins because honestly, Elementor is worth the investment for your business. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm now going to move on to the next stage, which is going to be talking about the pro version and adding some color and some forms to the site. So I'll be back soon.